Hello, friends. Welcome again to the Kumbi-Gikku Show on the Gikkudiaries YouTube channel. We have completed the league stage of this IPL 18th edition. And though we had 4 teams who qualified for the playoffs determined by match number 63, we had to wait until the last 2 matches of the league, match numbers 69 and 70, to determine who among the 4 teams plays where. Finally, after Royal Challengers Bangalore had to win their last league match to finish in the top 2, we now know who plays where. And to discuss what happened in the last 1 week, the last 7 matches of the league, we have our good friend, former cricketer, now an umpire and author of the book, The Handbook of Cricket Psychology, K. Srinath. Sri, welcome again to the Kumbi-Gikku Show. And how have you been following the rain updates in Bengaluru as well as the IPL 2025 final week?
Thank you, Jiko. A very interesting week of IPL, as you mentioned in your opening statement. So we had to wait till the 70th game to see who would be in the top 2, who would be playing the Qualifier 1, which apparently turns out to be Punjab Kings and RCB, and the Eliminator to be played between Mumbai and Gujarat. So a very interesting week where we saw, the teams which had no chance for qualification being a party spoiler. CSK spoiling the party of GT by pulling off a victory. RCB lost the penultimate game and they came back strongly yesterday. Yes, an interesting week, and yes, I think a fitting finish to the league phase. As I already mentioned, it was decided post the 63rd game, the 4 teams which had qualified for the top 4. But at the end of it, I think the 4 best teams have qualified, I would say, in terms of the brand of cricket they've played and the consistency they've brought to the table, despite a break of 9 days in between due to developments on the border, plus some injuries happening at the wrong time for a couple of franchisees. So, despite all these things, I think we have come to a very exciting phase now, finishing the league phase, and we've already seen now as to who are the top 4. Yes, rains. It's been a rainy period in Bangalore, early monsoons. And also, I've been following what's happening in Mumbai. So I hope things are under control, Jiku, and you and your family is doing good.
Yes, thanks, Sri. We are keeping ourselves safe, and yes, it's not as bad as one could imagine. Though yesterday it was cloudy, it didn't rain that heavily. Now the sun is slightly coming out. So some kind of relief, at least for the time being, Sri. But then you just touched upon the teams. There was a phase where in the 4 consecutive matches, different teams have played party poopers. Like GT had to be at the receiving end twice. First at the hands of LSG, and LSG we thought would repeat it against RCB after having posted 230 yesterday. But then what a phenomenal batting by their stand-in captain Jitesh Sharma. Yesterday it seemed to be a tale of 2 wicketkeepers, Rishabh Pant scoring, finally some form that he has got into, and that's a good sign as India is approaching the test tour of England. Rishabh Pant back to his form, 100 plus, unbeaten 100, but that was all overshadowed by this magnificent innings by Jitesh Sharma and that partnership with Mayank Agarwal. Of course, the start being given by who else but Virat Kohli and his opening partner Phil Salt. How good was Jitesh Sharma last night?
And he's somebody whom I've watched closely and seen him turn out for Vidarbha over a period of time. And unfortunately, when he came into the Indian side, he had to, rub shoulders and vie for a place. Who was he vying for a place in the T20 side in the Indian team? It was the likes of Rishabh Pant, KL Rahul, Sanju Samson, Ishan Kishan. So 2 of them established cricketers in all format, whereas Ishan Kishan and Sanju Samson always have been, given that look in for T20 cricket. Very unfortunate that he couldn't get the sort of opportunities which one would have expected. But yes, I always thought that he had it in him, to be a brilliant white ball cricketer. But somehow he never blossomed. He's been around with different franchises in IPL for quite some time now. And when a stat came out yesterday, I was really taken aback. I heard that it was the first half century he's made in IPL. And mind you, what was the timing? Like you mentioned, two wicketkeeper batters, two captains coming to the fore. Yes, a very happy, you know, news for Indian cricket. Rishabh Pant firing. As we all know, the way he bats, he batted the best way. And yes, we all thought 230 was a real uphill chase, knowing the fact that RCB had to win the game to finish in the top two. At one point in time, at 123 for 4, when they had lost the well set Virat, we thought the writing was on the wall because they lost Liam Livingston of the first ball. And after that, it was left to Mayank Agarwal and Jitesh Sharma, who just showed glimpses of his form in this IPL, but not to his full potential. Left with that was only Romario Shepard. So would it be too late for them, was the thought. But they say, cometh the hour, cometh the man. When the chips were down, and he was at the receiving end when he had to run around, marshal his sources, and restrict, I would say, LSG to a score of 227, which was by no stretch of imagination a small score. But what a knock he played! I would say it was a blinder. I mean, that 83 not out of 38 balls was certainly worth its weight in gold. I mean, though he didn't get to the coveted three-figure mark, which Rishabh Pant did, but end of the day, as I always mentioned, numbers always don't reveal the exact truth. And that was it. Extremely happy for Jitesh Sharma, a stand-in captain, in a tough position. And he knew, they had to be at the best because RCB were not at their best on the field. A lot of fielding lapses, and the bowlers really didn't come to the party because this is the team that has really showed, how to execute when it comes under pressure, which wasn't the case in the last two games, especially even in this crunch game on the field. But I think uh, he would really be a extremely happy and satisfied man to have really pulled it off from under the carpet. Yes, well played, Jitesh, and happy to see that RCB is in the top two. One day break, and they come back on the park again.
And what was noticeable was the opening partners who can hit really big. Phil Salt and of course Virat Kohli. We know what he is capable of. There was not a single six in their partnership of about 90 odd something. But it all started raining sixes once Jitesh got going. And another very impressive fact is that Royal Challengers Bangalore have won all their away games, 7 out of 7. And the fact that the playoffs are away from Bengaluru, you can expect what you know what to expect from RCB. How do you like it?
Yeah, it augurs really well, and most of the franchises this year in the IPL have struggled to hold on to their fort. So it's not surprising. But yes, very important because people have been saying that they just get one day's break and they move on to Chandigarh to play their qualifier one. But I believe that it's the momentum and it's the confidence that they carry forward because this game of cricket, especially the T20 format, is all about momentum, the form you are in, and I am certainly sure that they would be raring to go, and just a day's break would certainly do no harm to them because now they know they are at the business end, and yes, winning would put them one step closer to the trophy. Even in case they lose the game, they have one more strike to play against the winners of the Eliminator. So yes, what is expected is fine, and hopefully, if Josh Hazelwood is fit, I think they certainly would look a different unit together as a bowling unit. What Bumrah was able to do with Mumbai Indians, I think the same would be with Josh Hazelwood for RCB.
Of course, Josh Hazelwood has been their key bowler. Once upon a time, he was also the purple cap holder, but had to miss out the last few matches. But I'm sure, as he's part of the WTC final squad, which is to play South Africa from June 11th in London, Cricket Australia would not have agreed to let him play the playoffs unless he is fully fit. So that's some positive that RCB have. And also the fact that Tim David, who suffered a hamstring the previous game, did not play yesterday. We are told that he is also fit to play the qualifier one. So that's everything seems to be working well for RCB when it matters most.
Yeah, true. Definitely, they would like to put their best playing 11 with the best players on the park because it's a knockout game. Effectively, as I said, no, they still have one more opportunity, but they would try to look and seal the qualifier one with the victory. And as you said, they had no choice but to play Liam Livingston in the last game because of the injury to Tim David. Yes, a fit Tim David and Josh Hazelwood. I think RCB looks firm favorites, and certainly they look like invincibles as of now.
But Sri, have you seen so many party poopers in one in a set of four days? It started with LSG beating GT, then SRH beating RCB, then Delhi Capitals beating Punjab Kings, and finally we thought, okay, CSK will continue their form, but then they were just the other CSK that we ought to have seen them earlier on. GT suffering at the hands of CSK once again. So a lot of party poopers and 4 consecutive games, and still we were not conclusive of who were going to play where among the 4 teams. And in between there was that match between KKR and SRH where we saw the third highest total being posted. Unbelievable. So it's something that somebody said, what happens now today? Will we have a team that we are sure of playing the qualifier one? No. It kept on going on for 3 days, 4 days. And finally, Mumbai Indians, who were expected to win, but they couldn't in their last game. And that's how we got at least qualifier 1 and eliminator. And finally, match number 70, we got the other qualifier 1 team and the other eliminator team. How interesting was it getting as we got on to the last league matches?
I think that's been the beauty of this tournament, Jiku. 18 years and people still are not bored. They're looking forward to. And I speak to a lot of young people and, in fact, senior citizens. They say, it's carnival time for us in March, April, and May because there's daily cricket and we get to see, really high octane clashes. And in fact, when the tournament was halted midway for about 9 days, I could just get in the neighborhood and see people getting a little bit fidgety. They were asking me, Srinath, when is it that we're going to have the tournament kickstarting again? I think that's the beauty of this tournament. There's never a dull moment. I don't think in the last 17 edition, this is the 18th one, we've had a clear cut, top 4 teams, somewhere close to 50 or 60 games. It's always boiled down to, the last couple of games wherein, there's a must win situation for one team to either make it to the top 4 or a couple of teams vying for the top 2 spots. So it's been really nail biting, and I've also been on tenterhooks and clinging on to my seats. As I said, now it all boils down to the teams, the 4 teams that have been there, and Punjab has never won the title. So has RCB, though they've been part of a few finals. GT has won it twice. The most experienced team here, I would say, is Mumbai Indians. They've had the title under the belt 5 times. So now it's up to those teams because Mumbai knows to play those big moments well. So it's all about just not being there. Being there and knowing how to get the hands on the trophy is another thing. So staying in the present, confidence, form, momentum, these are all words that are always used very widely. But those, 3 hours when you're there on the park, be it batting, bowling, fielding, your planning, execution, everything has to be spot on. So that's where I feel, Mumbai has the edge because they've been there many a time and they have had that coveted trophy 5 times. So what still, though they play the eliminator against GT, still they, look like firm favorites is because they've been in that saddle for 5 times. So that's what is going to separate these teams in the qualifier and the eliminator.
And you mentioned about the Mumbai Indians, and the core group of the Mumbai Indians have been there, done that, and they have been IPL title winners not just once or twice. So that gives them the confidence. And Sri, in the earlier episode, we were speaking about the likelihood of how we were in the or at least I was dreaming of an RCB Mumbai Indians final, and it's still possible, isn't it? because you mentioned that if it won't be possible if they played the eliminator, but now we now have a clear who picture as to who plays the eliminator, and Mumbai Indians is not playing RCB in the eliminator. So we could still have a dream final, RCB versus Mumbai Indians.
Absolutely, nothing like it. And we all know the sort of rivalry that exists between Mumbai and RCB. It's always those, high octane games, and the marquee clashes always are, revolving around these three musketeers. It's MI, CSK, and RCB. Any game between these three are real thrillers. So, yes, as per your wish, Jiku, you've got 50% of your prediction right. I think you must be playing the Dream 11. You might end up being a winner because you're getting your predictions spot on. So yes, very likely if RCB gets to the final by beating Punjab Kings, and Mumbai gets the better of GT, and they get to play the qualifier 2 against Punjab Kings, you never know. On June 3rd in a packed conundrum at the Narendra Modi Stadium, the men in red and gold and men in blue might be out there. So let's hope. But we still got 3 more games, to arrive at that particular destination.
And it could also be the other way. Punjab Kings versus Gujarat Titans. Gujarat Titans in their home ground. And maybe, you never know, Shreyas Iyer could even, for the second consecutive year, lift the trophy, or Gujarat Titans, for the second time in 4 years, regain their trophy. But Shrey, one thing was very, caught the eye. In the earlier episodes, and you always mentioned about the second half of the IPL and the pitches, which tend to get slower, and because of the usage, because of repair and all that. But on the contrary, the last week saw consistently teams, especially teams batting first, scoring 200 plus. So how do you explain that?
Yeah, good, Jiku. You've remembered what I told you and you've put me in a spot. Yeah, typically that's what happens with the summer setting in. But yeah, mind you, we had a 9-day break. And, that was regenerating, and a lot of these grounds got a breather. And, they were redone with a lot of watering, and there was a freshness to all the venues where they played. It could have been Wankhede, where there was rain looming large on that particular day. It turned out to be a fascinating game. We played in Delhi, we played in Jaipur, we played in Lucknow. All the venues churned out some wonderful decks. And yes, I'm not saying that I'm taking my word back, but had we had the continuation without the break, I doubt whether, they would have been able to roll out such brilliant batting pitches. And also to, add to that, I think the intensity of the games and what was in store also added more value. Players came out that much more focused, and they were much hungrier than what it was before, because nothing was decided saying that who's going to be in the top 4. So added to that, we saw some real peak performances, and a lot of hundreds being scored towards the fag end. We saw at least, I think, 5 or 6 hundreds being scored in the last 5 games,
Yes.
which shows as to what was the quality of batsmanship. Maybe yes, somewhere fielding was a letdown with most of the teams, and also the bowlers were a bit patchy. But yes, it's a wonderful job that the curators have done in the respective venues, and hopefully in the remaining 4 games we get to see some belters. Whereas because the fans that throng the stadia would love to watch those big hits.
Yeah, you mentioned about those 9-day gap, and with the curators having had to have had the time to work on it. And the teams did not lose their rhythm. In fact, they were, like you said, regenerated. And even the teams in the bottom half, including SRH and Chennai Super Kings, they just played as if it was a new league, forgetting all that poor performances in the previous, and then their number of defeats. That was something phenomenal, with the CSK also being one of the party poopers, and Sunrisers, of course, doing it to RCB. So now, when we go looking forward to the playoffs, are we really going to have big scoring games? 2 matches back to back in New Chandigarh, and 2 matches with a day in between the qualifier 2 and the final.
Absolutely, because not many games have been played in Chandigarh. So obviously they will roll out, and typically with whatever little bit I have officiated there, they come up with some brilliant batting tracks. And yes, one thing is both these venues for the qualifier one eliminator as well as qualifier one and the final are big grounds. So to make it a level playing field, I think if the boundaries are stretched a bit, you would see some real quality cricket,
Hmm.
and I'm certainly sure that it will be high scoring games. They will certainly look to use pitches that have not been put to use for many games, and certainly you will see that freshness and big crowds coming in because Punjab plays at home. And to me, here, I don't believe there's going to be any sort of home advantage for anybody
Okay.
because the pitches that are going to be laid out, we will have neutral curators there. They would ensure that there are good batting tracks, wherein there's a good contest and a high scoring one. And yes, certainly, if not in terms of 230s and 240s, definitely you would get to see scores in excess of 180 and 190.
Yeah, so just to mention to the viewers, the league matches, we have 7 home games and 7 away games. The home games are hosted by the home team, like RCB hosting the matches in Bengaluru, Mumbai Indians franchisee hosting the matches in Wankhede. So they are the hosts. Now, when it comes to the playoffs, teams don't have any say, and it's the BCCI that takes over, and get they control everything, isn't it? Am I right, Sri? Is it fair to say that?
Yeah, typically, for example, I can say last year, Kolkata Knight Riders were the champions. So the convention has been the inaugural game of the subsequent year of IPL. That was 18 edition. The inaugural game was played in Kolkata. At the same time, even the finals also would be played in the same venue. Due to different reasons, like the tournament being pushed back by 9 days, plus weather playing a spoil sport, and BCCI had an information saying that there could be issues with rain in Kolkata, so and Hyderabad also. So they had to change the venues to places where they could get full games. So that's how it is. Typically, I wouldn't say those are neutral venues, but yes, now had say for example Gujarat, now if they qualify for the finals, they would end up playing at their home ground. So that's not by their own choice, that's by default. So that's how it is decided. So whichever team wins the IPL this year will have the luxury of hosting the opening game as well as the final in the next edition.
Right. And Sri, one thing that caught my attention, especially yesterday, was the matches being played on different soils. We saw black soil being used in certain parts. We saw predominantly red soil being used, or not red soil pitches being used. But yesterday, the commentators were saying about the pitch on which yesterday's match was played had a mix of black and red soil. Can you? How does it work? No mix of, see, because I understand black soil is slightly on the slower side. Red soil has more bounce, and the batsman would enjoy batting on those kind of wickets. But a mix of black and red.
I mean, I'm not somebody who's a qualified person per se in terms of like a qualified curator, but having been across the country, officiated in different grounds, also have played on some venues. Yes, typically, black soil is the one. In some places, they use good quality clay, and typically in West, wherein places like Baroda, Mumbai, or places even in Gujarat, it's typically more of red soil. So, I mean, it's about the permutation and combination that you work out. Many of the venues, the centers like Wankade or Chinnaswamy or Chidambaram or Kotla. So, most of these venues will have at least a minimum of about, say, anywhere between 9 to 12 pitches on the square. So basically, there'll be 3 or 4 pitches, including the center pitch, which would basically be of a particular base. But they would try out different combinations on the other side pitches. So it's nothing new actually. So it's a combination wherein you work with both black as well as red. And to be honest, it turned out to be a fabulous batting track. In fact, there were comments saying that the pitch looked a bit tacky and it was holding on or whatever. But I think the ball came on brilliantly. And what else do you expect, Jiku? 8 balls to spare
Yes.
and close to 460 runs being scored. I mean, hats off to the pitch the curator had laid out. I think that was really tailor made and really what people look forward to having for a T20 game.
Right. And we also saw the T20 being largely a batter's game. And like you mentioned just a while ago, we saw a lot more centuries in the last 10 matches or so than in the first 60 matches. And finally, we had some foreigners scoring 100, and became two, with Mitchell Marsh being the first overseas batsman to score 100. And within a couple of days, it was it was
Henrik Klassen.
Henrik Klassen. So, and still, the left-handers are all Indians who are among the century makers, with Rishabh Pant being the sixth yesterday. Which century impressed you the most? And I'm sure you will say Vaibhav Suryavanshi because of him being the youngest at 14 years and a few days, 23 days or so. But which century really impressed you the most?
I think if I remember, the first one by Abhishek Sharma was a standout because it was very early days, and I thought the way he batted, and typically he's a very free-flowing batter, and the way he struck the ball was absolutely brilliant. It was really a treat to watch. But later on, yes, he didn't really continue the rich vein of form. But I would say that was one of the brilliant hundreds. It's tough to pick one actually among the seven or eight because each one had its own nuance. And in fact, I was extremely happy for Rishabh yesterday because that's the old Rishabh Pant, what we've known. Not trying too much, trying for those lap sweeps and the reverse scoops. He was, more prone to hitting the ball in front of the wicket. I think yesterday's, batting was really fantastic. Yes, if I could, just be a bit biased and put my finger on one, I think I would go with Abhishek Sharma.
Abhishek Sharma, okay. And yes, you say hundreds, they are good, but there are some knocks which are not hundreds but 50s and half centuries. And one particular knock I will never forget is Romario Shepherd and the way he just took the match away. And who was at the other end? Tim David, and who is no less a batsman. He perhaps no, I thought Romario Shepherd was doing what otherwise Tim David would have done. And Tim David was happy just to be a silent spectator, and Romario just took it away. That was something which I will never forget. And another thing was, like you mentioned, yes, Rishabh Pant, and we mentioned I was doing a show with Raja Venkat, the former selector, and asked him the question of if the Rishabh Pant's form in this IPL are concerned going into the England series, and he said yes. But I'm glad that he has. Perhaps I don't know if he has listened to Raja Venkat, but he has come really. But one thing that I was really no the flip that he did to celebrate his 100, was it necessary? Especially with the accident that he had and the state of his leg and all that, the knee. It was risky, isn't it? But still, he went for it, and I was relieved when he landed on both feet and hugged Nicholas Puran. Until then, why would he have to do that? Was what I was thinking all along.
See how much ever cricket you played, and the weight of the 27 crore weighing on his shoulders, not having been performing to his potential, lots of things would have been running in his mind. And yes, give it to the man. I mean, a brilliant 100, and yes, why not? He sent a strong message to the cricketing world and the viewers saying that I'm still as fit as I was, and and maybe give it a shot down the line. Try and be a party of the Indian Olympics, maybe in the gymnastics. Yes, was it warranted as a question? But yeah, you need to give it. Yes, these sports people are definitely, far more superior in terms of their emotional quality with normal people. But many a times, the adrenaline flow is just going to take you over there. And yes, nothing stopped him from doing that. Happy he is really fit, and there's a lot of time for him to recover now before he boards the plane to England. Extremely happy news for the cricketing fans. Not so great for England.
And that also conveyed a message that you don't look at the end results, but you're confident, be positive in what you do. And perhaps Rishabh Pant was confident in completing that flip, and he didn't look at whether he was going to fall or whether he was not going to land on his feet. So that really conveys the message not to just the youngsters, but to everyone across different fields of activity. Even for you and me also, it is something like, you do the process correctly, everything will fall in place.
Absolutely. I think, we always talk about self confidence, self belief. Many a times, what happens, especially in sport, is we look for validation from the outside. It could be your own teammates, it could be your support staff, it could be your peers, it could be your family. But end of the day, it's all about that particular individual to get out on the field of play, perform, execute his skills. I think one thing, again, Rishabh is somebody I've followed him and watched him right from the age of 18. And I've seen him get a triple hundred against Maharashtra in Wankhede in a Ranji Trophy game after having kept wickets for close to about 160 overs. He was there on the field for all 4 days in the second summer of Mumbai. I think this was in 2016, but the neutral venue concept was there in the domestic. I mean, he was a bit chubby and bulky at that point in time, but somebody with whatever physical appearance you look at, he's on the field for 4 days in the sweltering heat of Mumbai and can get a triple hundred. Phenomenal. I think one thing what really strikes me is the confidence he exudes in himself. And come what may, the criticism from outside, people talking about his shot selection, but you look at his career overall, maybe though he's not done justice in white ball cricket with what we associate with generally, but he's done the same thing in red ball cricket. You see him play the similar kind of shots when you look at him turn out for India in whites. Hey, that's the way he's played. That's the license he's got. It's like live with the sword, die with the sword. But majority of the times in crunch situations, he's the one who's come out triumphs. So I think that's the way Rishabh has played his game, and I believe will continue to play the same way. And that characteristic of that supreme self-confidence in him that I can do it, irrespective of what is there statistically behind me, doesn't weigh him down. I think this is an attribute that is there in him, which a lot of youngsters who have taken up to this game, or many a times you see people always talk about failures and end up negatively and go into depression. I think this is the man whom you have to certainly look up to.
Really, really a role model to not just youngsters, but to all across different various age groups. So on that note, shall we come to the end of this episode, Sri, and promise our viewers that we'll be back with the review of the Qualifier 1 and also look ahead to the Eliminator in that same episode 2 days later.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'll be catching up on 29th morning to do a preview of the Qualifier 1. And, again, come back the next day to do a review of the same and preview of the Eliminator. So looking forward to an exciting game on 29th. Hope it's a high-scoring one.
May the best team advance to the final, and the other team have a second go at the final. So on that note, thank you very much, Sri. Fantastic insights about especially Rishabh Pant and a lot more, and including the pitch composition, the black soil, red soil, and all those things. So fantastic. And see you soon. Take care, and especially be careful with the rains in Bengaluru.
Thank you, Jikku. You too.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care. See you soon. Bye.